I never thought the people I loved most would stand in my living room, screaming over a box of jewelry that wasn't even gone yet, because I wasn't gone yet. But that afternoon, I watched my son and daughter argue like strangers. My gold bangles were in my daughter's hands. My mother's heirloom necklace was clenched in my daughter-in-law's fist, and my son kept shouting, "It should all come to me. I'm the eldest." I stood frozen, holding the armrest of the couch just to steady myself. It felt like my heart was being ripped piece by piece, not by thieves, but by my own children. "Amy, why are you overreacting?" My daughter said, rolling her eyes. My daughter-in-law added, "Just aside already. You're old. You should settle these things while you still remember who we are." While I still remember, my legs weakened, my jewelry, pieces I had collected over 40 years, gifted by my husband, my parents, even my grandmother, had become nothing but scrap metal in their eyes, not memories. Not history, just money, and then something happened that pushed me over the edge. My son grabbed the small velvet box containing the emerald ring my husband gave me on our 25th anniversary. "It's worth at least 6 lakhs, he muttered to his wife. "We can sell it first." I snatched the box back. Their eyes widened as if I were stealing from them. "Don't be dramatic, Amy." My son hissed, "We're your family, we deserve it. Deserve it." In that moment, I realized something horrifying. My children weren't waiting for me to die, they were preparing for it. I walked to my room, locked the door, and called someone I never thought I'd involve, my lawyer. By evening, every single piece of jewelry was in the bank locker, under my name only, and that was just the beginning. Because what my children didn't know was that I had something else, they had never even imagined, a letter from my husband's lawyer that could change everything. And when I revealed it, their faces turned pale. I still remember that afternoon as clearly as sunlight cutting through a dusty window. I was in the living room, arranging a few old jewelry boxes, things I hadn't touched in years. My son, Adil, had brought his wife, Sana, and my daughter, Hira, had come with her husband, Faraz. I had no idea why they all chose the same day to visit, but I welcomed them anyway. I thought perhaps they finally wanted to spend some time with me. But I was wrong, very wrong. It started small, a comment here, a remark there. Hira picked up my gold bangles and said, "Amy, you don't even wear these anymore. I should take them now before they get lost. Before they get lost." She said it like I was a child who misplaced things. Sana, analyzing the necklace in her hand, added, honestly, "We should divide these properly. It's only fair. You're not going to need them much longer." I felt a sting, but I swallowed it. Maybe she meant age, maybe she didn't. I didn't want to assume. Then Adil said something that struck my heart like a hammer. "Amy, I'm the eldest son. Naturally, most of this belongs to me. Jewelry or not, it's part of the inheritance." I looked up. "Inheritance, beta, I'm still alive." He shrugged. "All the more reason to sort it out early. We don't want confusion later." I felt dizzy. Confusion later. They were talking about me like I wasn't standing there, like my presence was temporary, like I was. Approaching the finish line, they opened boxes without asking. They spread my life, my memories, like sales items on a table. The gold jumke my mother gifted me at my wedding. The delicate chain my husband bought on our first Eid together. The emerald ring he gave me on our 25th anniversary. The one that still smelled of roses from that day. Suddenly, Adil snatched the emerald ring box and whispered to Sana, 6, maybe 7 lakhs. We can sell this first. It's the most valuable. The blood drained from my face. I reached out and grabbed the box out of his hand, put it down. He stared at me as if I was the one being unreasonable. "Amy, don't be dramatic." Hira sighed loudly. "Why are you reacting like this? We're your children. It's not stealing." But it was. Not the jewelry, the respect, the love, the dignity. Piece by piece they were stealing that. My breath grew heavy. I held the armrest just to stay upright. "I haven't died yet." I whispered. Sana rolled her eyes. "We know. That's why we're sorting things now. While you still remember what's yours and what's not. While I still remember, as if age had turned me into a burden." Adil tightened his jaw. "Stop making this difficult. Just decide who gets what." And that was the moment. The moment everything inside me snapped like a dry twig. I walked to my room, locked the door, and sat on the bed, trembling. For the first time in my life, I felt like a guest in my own home. And then a thought flickered. I need to take action before they take everything. As I sat alone in my room, I felt an ache in my chest, not from anger, but from memories. We weren't always like this. After my husband, Jalal, passed away suddenly from a stroke 20 years ago, it was just me and 2 children who were too young to understand what life without a father meant. Adil was barely 13, Hira only 9, and I remember the night after his funeral, how both of them curled up beside me, trembling, crying, begging me not to leave them too. "I'll never leave you," I promised, holding them tight. "I'll do everything for you." And I did. I worked 2 part-time tuitions. I stitched clothes for neighbors at night. I sold the small piece of land my parents had left me so I could pay for their school fees. I gave up my entire youth so my children wouldn't have to give up their dreams. My bangles, I pawned them twice, for Adil's college admission and Hira's medical tests. My gold sets, one was sold to cover Adil's wedding expenses, another for Hira's emergency surgery when she had appendicitis. Every piece of jewelry had a story, a sacrifice, a moment where I chose them over myself. To see those same hands I once fed, dressed, protected. Now fighting over those memories felt like someone was shredding my heart with a blade. I closed my eyes and remembered something else, something I hadn't thought about in years. The day before he died, my husband called me into our bedroom. His voice was weak but steady. "There's something important you should know," he said, pulling out a brown envelope from his drawer. "If anything ever happens to me, open this. It will protect you." I nodded, but I never opened it. I couldn't bear to. After he died, I put the envelope deep in my cupboard under old clothes, telling myself I'd look at it someday. Someday. 20 years went by, but today that envelope pulled at my memory like a whisper from the past. A sudden chill crawled up my neck. Did my husband predict something like this? Did he leave something behind? Something important? I stood up, walked to the cupboard, and reached into the back where the envelope should have been. Only it wasn't there. My heart skipped. I searched again and again. I emptied half the cupboard on the floor. Nothing. The envelope was gone. My breath froze. Had someone taken it? Had one of my children found it? Did they know something I didn't? My legs weakened. If that envelope contained something important, something legal, something dangerous for them, I needed to act fast. "Assalamu alaikum, madam. Is everything okay?" It was my husband's old lawyer, Mr. Rehman, a calm, wise man in his late 60s who had always treated us with respect. My voice trembled. "No, nothing is okay. I need to talk to you. It's urgent." He didn't ask questions. "Come to my office tomorrow morning. I'll be waiting." The moment I hung up, someone banged on my door. Amy opened the door. It was Adil. "We need to discuss something." Hira added, "No, not today." I stayed silent. After a while, the voices faded, the footsteps moved away, and eventually the house grew quiet. The next morning, I woke up before Fajr, packed every piece of jewelry into a large scarf, tied it tightly, and placed it in my handbag. My hands shook while locking the front door. My heart felt like it could burst any moment. At the lawyer's office, I sat across from him and told him everything. How they fought, how they spoke to me, how they acted like I was already gone. He listened quietly, nodding slowly. When I finished, he leaned forward. "Madam, you did the right thing by coming." He stood up, motioned for me to follow, and walked me to the bank next door. Within 1 hour, all my jewelry was placed in a locker under my name only. The bank manager even advised I change the access code frequently. As we left, Mr. Rayman said something that sent a shiver through me. "You mentioned an envelope your husband gave you, something that disappeared." I nodded. He took a deep breath. "Your husband did leave something with me as well. A document he said I should only reveal when the time is right." My heart stopped. "What document?" I whispered. He looked at me with heavy eyes. "I think the time has come for you to read it." When I returned home from the lawyer's office, the house felt different, heavier, colder, like my children had left a shadow behind instead of themselves. Adil and Hira were sitting in the living room waiting for me. Their faces were stiff, no smiles, no warmth, only calculation. Sana and Faraz arrived moments later. It was unusual for all 4 of them to gather on a weekday. That alone told me something was wrong. Hira folded her arms. Where did you go so early in the morning, Amy? To the bank. I said calmly. Adil frowned. Why, what business do you have there? I smiled faintly. My own business. That response tightened his jaw. Then, without hesitation, he pulled out a file from his bag and placed it on the table. Amy, we need to finalize the house papers. My heart thumped painfully. What papers? I asked. Faraz leaned forward, his tone polite but rehearsed. It's nothing big. Just transfer the property to both the children now. It will save them legal trouble later. Adil added, the lawyer said it's better to do everything early. It avoids fights later. I almost laughed. Fights later. They were already fighting, without shame, without hesitation. Hira softened her voice. Amy, you're alone. If anything happens, it will take months to sort out the inheritance. Why put us through that stress? They spoke as if my existence was an inconvenience. I asked quietly, who suggested this to you? Sana quickly said, everyone does it. It's normal. But something in their behavior didn't feel normal. They weren't discussing. They were pressuring, insisting, almost rehearsing the same lines like a script. Adil opened the file and pointed to a blank signature line. Just sign, Amy. We'll handle everything. My hands went cold. You want me to sign without reading? Adil waved his hand dismissively. It's standard paperwork. Don't complicate it. I closed the file. No. The room fell dead silent. Hira's face twisted. Amy, why are you being difficult? We're your children. I looked right at her. If you were behaving like children, I wouldn't have to be. The silence turned into anger. Adil slammed his fist on the table. You're being paranoid. We're just trying to secure our future. By taking away my present. I asked softly. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. Sana finally said what they all were thinking. You won't use this house forever. We should plan ahead. I felt my breath tighten. The house where I built my life, where my husband lived, where my children took their first steps. They wanted to strip it from me while I was still breathing. I stood up, holding my ground. I will not sign anything. Adil muttered under his breath. We'll see about that. It was almost midnight when I heard voices in the hallway. I walked quietly toward the slightly open door of the guest room. Sana and Faraz were inside, speaking in hushed tones. Sana whispered, she didn't sign today, but she will. Adil will convince her. Faraz replied, if she doesn't, we have other ways. Remember how my cousin handled his father's property. Adults forget things, and courts listen to the younger generation. I felt something twist inside me. Forget things? Are they planning to declare me mentally unfit? Sana lowered her voice even more. We just need the papers. Once the house is divided, Hira gets half, we get half, then we can sell our portion immediately. Adil and I already saw a new investment plot. They were planning their future with my roof as the down payment. My hands trembled against the wall. Suddenly, Adil joined them. He sounded frustrated. She refused again, but she's getting old. She'll give in eventually. They were discussing my age like it was an illness. My life like it was an obstacle. I quietly walked back to my room and sat on my bed, shaking. The next morning, things got worse. I entered the sitting room and noticed something out of place. My cupboard keys were not where I kept them. I always put them in the same drawer at night, but now they were on the table next to Adil's phone. My heart sank. Had someone gone through my things? I rushed to my cupboard, opened it, and my breath froze. Some of my documents were missing. My bank book, insurance papers, property tax receipts, some old envelopes. My hands turned cold. I had one thought. They were preparing something behind my back. I walked back toward the living room, but everyone was behaving too normally, talking, laughing, drinking tea, as if nothing had happened. I watched them silently. Their words from last night replayed in my mind. She's old. She'll forget. Courts listen to us. I felt betrayed in a way I had never felt before. My own children were turning my age into a weapon. Later that afternoon, Adil approached me again. Amy, please don't be stubborn. Sign the house papers. We're only thinking of your comfort. Comfort? Is that what they were calling it now? I took a deep breath. I already told you. No. He smirked. You won't have a choice forever. I stared at him, stunned. Who was this man? Where was the boy I raised? I reached the lawyer's office with my heart pounding like a drum. Mr. Riemann motioned for me to sit. Madame, he said slowly, I went through our old files. There is something you need to know. He slid a thin folder across the desk. Inside was a photocopy of a very old document, my husband's will. I felt chills run through my body. You had this all along. He nodded. Your husband asked me to keep a duplicate in case anything ever happened to the original. My throat tightened. What did the original look like? I asked. A brown envelope. He said, I felt dizzy. That was the one missing from my cupboard. Your husband knew something. The lawyer continued. He predicted that one day you might need this protection. My hands shook as I held the document. Some sections were underlined by my husband's own handwriting, and as I read the underlined lines, I felt the air leave my lungs. The house that my children were fighting over, the house they were forcing me to sign away, was not legally theirs. They had assumed it would automatically be split between them. But the will clearly stated something unexpected. The house was registered solely under my name and could never be transferred without my consent, and more importantly, my husband didn't want the children to inherit it directly. My eyes widened. He wrote in his own words, This house belongs to my wife. Only she will decide what happens to it. No one has the right to pressure her. A tear slipped from my eye. My husband wasn't here anymore, but through this document, he was still protecting me. The lawyer closed the file gently. You must be very careful now. They cannot force you to sign anything. Legally, you hold all the power. I exhaled shakily. Power, a word I hadn't felt in years. I left the office with the copy of the will in my handbag, my heart heavy yet hopeful. When I reached home, everyone was waiting for me. Adil stood up immediately. Where did you go? His tone was sharp. I looked at all of them. The 4 people who should have loved me, but instead saw me as a stepping stone for something important. I replied calmly. Hira crossed her arms. More secrets. I sat down, placed my bag on the table, and said quietly, Yes, secrets you should have known long ago. Their faces stiffened. I was done being silent, done being weak, done being afraid. It was time for the truth. I placed my handbag gently on the table, watching their faces turn curious, then worried, then tense. My fingers closed around the document inside, the thin paper that had suddenly become my shield. Adil stepped forward. Amy, what is that? His voice wasn't soft anymore. It vibrated with uneasiness. I held up the paper. Something your father left behind, something none of you knew existed. Hira's eyebrows furrowed. What are you talking about? Abu didn't leave anything. Sana muttered under her breath, drama again. I ignored her. Slowly, I unfolded the paper, the photocopy of the will, and placed it on the table. The room went completely silent. Adil's eyes widened. What? What is this? Your father's will? I said calmly. A legal document he prepared before he died. Faraz leaned forward to read it. Sana moved closer. Hira grabbed the paper, her hands shaking slightly. As their eyes scanned the lines, I watched their expressions shift, from annoyance to shock, and finally to disbelief. Adil looked up, confused. This says, the house is in your name. Yes, I replied. It always has been. Sana snatched the paper. No, that can't be. That's not possible. The house should be shared equally. That's how inheritance works. I took a deep breath. Inheritance happens after death. I am alive. They all fell silent. Hira whispered, but this part says, Abu didn't want us to inherit the house directly. I nodded. He didn't. Adil's voice cracked. Why would he do that? Because he loved all of us. I said softly, and he knew how property can destroy families. He didn't want you two to fight like vultures. He trusted me to decide what was right. Sana scoffed. So he left everything in your control. That's unfair. I looked right at her. He left the responsibility with me, not you. Adil's voice trembled now. This can't be real. Abu would have told us. No, I whispered. He only told me, and he left a copy with the lawyer so this day would never happen. My words struck exactly where they needed to. Adil grabbed the edge of the table. So, you're saying we have no right to the house, none at all. Not without my permission. Their faces fell. For the first time, they realized something they weren't the ones in control. I looked at all 4 of them, my voice steady, my heart no longer shaking. Your father protected me even after death, and now I will protect myself too. When I answered the phone, my lawyer's voice sounded unusually urgent. Madam, You need to come to the office immediately. We found something else in the old files, something important about the house deed. I felt the air shift around me. Something else. I grabbed my dupatta and left without a word. I didn't owe them explanations anymore. At the lawyer's office, Mr. Reedman already had a folder open on his desk. He handed me a thick document. This is the original property deed from when your husband purchased the house. I skimmed through the pages and gasped, Mr. Reedman, this says the house isn't even purchased under my husband's name. He nodded slowly. No, madam, it is under your name entirely. My heart skipped, but he bought the house. I didn't have that kind of money. He registered it under your name intentionally, the lawyer said gently. He wanted to ensure you would never be dependent on anyone, not even your children. My hands trembled as I held the papers. This was more than protection. This was love, deep love. Love that spoke even 20 years after he was gone. He didn't want anyone to take advantage of you. The lawyer continued, and now no one legally can. I closed my eyes for a moment. I could almost hear my husband's voice. You deserve security. You deserve peace. Even when I'm gone. But the shock wasn't over. The lawyer flipped to the last page. There is one more clause. I leaned in. He pointed at a line highlighted by my husband long ago. If my wife ever feels unsafe, pressured, or disrespected by anyone, including our children, she holds full right to remove them from the property. I pressed my hand against my chest. My husband hadn't just given me protection. He had given me the authority to defend my own dignity. I looked at the lawyer, unable to speak for a few seconds. He said quietly, your children cannot legally force you to sign anything. In fact, by pressuring you, they are putting themselves in danger of legal consequences. My breath hitched. Consequences. For once, they weren't just words. They were real. As I held the deed in my hands, a fire I hadn't felt in years lit inside me. I wasn't weak. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't alone. I walked out of the office, the documents pressed to my chest, my tears drying in the wind. But when I reached home, the storm that awaited me was far stronger than I expected. Adil stood in the hallway, his face red with anger. Where did you go, and what the hell did you bring back now? Hira's eyes were swollen, perhaps from crying, perhaps from fear. Sana glared at my handbag like it was a bomb. Farah stayed silent but tense, standing behind them. I placed the documents on the table. You want the truth. I said softly, fine, sit. They sat. Reluctantly, angrily, impatiently. I opened the deed and began reading, one line at a time. Their faces turned white, then red, then expressionless, as if their souls were leaving their bodies. Adil stood up suddenly, shaking. This is not fair. Abu can't do this. He has no right. He had every right, I said. And he used it to protect me from moments like today. Sana burst out, so what now? We have nothing. Is that what you're saying? I didn't answer, because it wasn't my turn to speak anymore. It was the truth's turn. The moment they saw the envelope with my husband's handwriting, all four froze. It was as if time stopped moving, the air thick with dread. Adil whispered, What? What is that? I placed the envelope on the table gently, almost lovingly. This, I said, is your father's last message. He wrote it for all of us, but especially for you two. Hira swallowed hard. Amy, why didn't you show us earlier? Because I didn't think I ever needed to, I said softly. I believed you both would choose love over greed, respect over property, family over money. I looked at them painfully, but today proved me wrong. Slowly, I opened the envelope and unfolded the letter. My husband's handwriting, bold, firm, stared back at me. I began to read out loud. To my children, if you are reading this, it means the day I feared has come. Adil's lips parted. Hira's hands shook. I continued, the biggest danger to a family is not enemies outside, but greed inside. I pray you never disrespect your mother. I pray you never reduce her to signatures and property papers. If you ever do, know that I left everything in her hands, not yours. Hira burst into tears. Adil looked away, jaw clenched, tears threatening, but held back by ego. But I kept reading. Your mother has sacrificed more than you will ever understand. Honor her, listen to her, and if you fail, then understand that you lose the right to call yourselves worthy of her love. The room was silent except for Hira's quiet sobbing. I read the final lines. This house, this property, this life, all belongs to your mother. She will decide what happens to it. Her word is final. If you ever break her heart, you will lose everything. I folded the letter slowly. My hands were steady now, my heart firm. When I looked up, all of them looked shattered. Faraz looked down. Sana pressed her lips tight, unable to speak. Hira wiped her tears, trembling. Adil was pale, stunned, defeated. But he still whispered, "Ami, this can't be. This changes everything." I placed the letter down. "No," I said softly. "It doesn't change anything. It only reveals what was always the truth." Adil looked at me with a mixture of fear and guilt. "So, what are you going to do now?" I stared at all four of them, the people who had forgotten what love meant, what respect meant, what family meant. And I said one line, "I will do what your father trusted me to do." Their eyes widened. After revealing the will and the letter, I felt something inside me shift. For the first time in years, I wasn't trembling. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't confused. I was in control. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The sun hadn't fully risen, and the house was silent, almost pretending nothing had happened. I quietly made tea, drank it alone, and then took out a notebook where I wrote down everything I needed to do. Change bank account beneficiaries, update access codes, secure important documents, rewrite my own will, and most importantly stop letting my children walk over me by 10 a.m. I was at the bank with my lawyer. Together, we changed every single detail tied to my accounts. I removed Adil's name from places where he had insisted I add him for emergencies. I added new security questions that only I could answer. Then I went to the locker, opened it, and looked at the jewelry. My memories, my sacrifices. Now finally safe. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe. Next, my lawyer and I updated my own will. I made sure it reflected exactly what I wanted. No one would inherit anything unless they showed respect, responsibility, and basic human decency. And if they ever pressured me again, everything would go to charity. My lawyer nodded, impressed. "You've taken back your life, madam." When I returned home, I felt lighter, until I walked into the living room and saw Sana waiting for me. Her eyes were red, her expression strange, half guilt, half calculation. "Ami," she said softly, "can we talk?" I placed my purse on the table, unconcerned. "What is it?" She gently took my hand. "I'm sorry. We all got carried away. We shouldn't have spoken to you like that. You know how stressful finances can be. We didn't mean to hurt you." Her words were sweet, too sweet, her grip tight, too tight, her smile forced. Too forced, it was an apology. It was strategy. Adil must have told her to convince me emotionally. I could see it in her eyes. She continued, "Let's forget everything. We're family, aren't we?" I pulled my hand away. "Yes, we're family." I replied, "But you forgot that yesterday." Her face hardened instantly, like a mask cracking. "So you won't forgive us?" "I forgive," I said calmly, "but I don't forget." Her jaw tightened. "Ami, this isn't right. You're making everything difficult." "No, Beta," I said, "I'm making everything correct." Her smile faded completely. Adil entered the room with fury in his eyes, his voice sharp like broken glass. "So, did she agree?" He asked Sana. Sana looked embarrassed, caught red. Handed, "Adil." I said sharply, "I'm standing right here, speak properly." But he didn't care. He never did not when money was involved. He grabbed a chair and sat down heavily. "Ami, enough games. We need the property division settled now. Everyone in the family knows we're trying to get things organized, and we look like fools because you keep dragging this out." I stared at him, shocked. "Who told the family?" "Hira did." He said bluntly, "She's upset. She thinks you don't trust her." I closed my eyes for a moment, of course. Instead of feeling guilty, they wanted sympathy. From everyone except the person they hurt. Adil leaned forward. "You have to understand. We're married now. We have our own responsibilities. Our spouses have rights too." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So your spouses come before your mother?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Sana stepped closer, her tone turning sharp. "You can't keep everything locked away like treasure. It's not fair." "Fair." I repeated. "What you all did was fair." "Faraz came out of Hira's room then. joining the conversation reluctantly. Amy, we're not your enemies. We just want our share. Your share of what? I asked calmly. Sacrifices, tears, hardships, losing my husband, raising 2 children alone, working day and night. Which part is your share? He went silent. But Adil stood up, frustrated. I won't argue any more. If you don't want to sign voluntarily, then we'll see what the court says. You're not well, you're forgetful, you're emotional. They listen to younger people more. And there it was, the threat I knew was coming. You want to declare your own mother mentally unfit? I whispered. Adil didn't blink, only if we have to. My heart broke, not slowly, but instantly. Before anyone could speak again, I walked to my room, opened the cupboard, took out a small suitcase, and came back into the living room. Hira came out from the corridor just in time to see me. Amy, what's happening? I looked at all of them, my children, their spouses, people I had loved more than myself, and felt nothing but emptiness. I need a break, I said, from this house, from all of you. Hira looked stunned. Are you leaving us? For now. Adil scoffed. This is childish. No. I replied, staying here and being mistreated is childish. Leaving is self-respect. I walked to the door with my suitcase. No one stopped me, not one of them. The next day I sat in my lawyer's office again. This time calmer, stronger, and no longer afraid. Mr. Reman handed me the final draft of my updated will. Are you ready for the meeting with your children? He asked. I nodded, yes, let them hear the truth from you. 1 hour later, my children and their spouses walked into the office. Their expressions were mixed: anger, fear, confusion, pride. They sat down across from me, the air thick with tension. Mr. Reman began formally. Your mother has reviewed the existing documents and made her decisions. Today, she will share them with all of you. Adil leaned back arrogantly. We already know she'll change things in our favor. She just needs guidance. I didn't respond. The lawyer opened the folder. First, regarding the house, it remains fully in your mother's name. She is under no obligation to transfer it to any of you now or in the future. Adil's mouth fell open. Sana gasped. Hira's shoulders slumped. Faraz didn't blink. The lawyer continued. Second, your mother has established new terms for inheritance. None of you will receive anything unless you can prove consistent respect, responsibility, and no attempts to manipulate or pressure her. Sana whispered angrily, This is ridiculous. The lawyer ignored her, and lastly, he said, turning the final page, Your mother has added a clause. If any of you threaten, intimidate, or emotionally manipulate her again, her entire estate will be donated to charity, and not a single rupee will come to this family. Silence. A deep, heavy silence. Adil shot up from his chair. You can't do this. Yes, I said quietly, I can. Hira began to cry softly. Faraz looked down at the floor. Sana stood up too, furious, pointing at me. You're punishing us. You're destroying your own family. No, I said, rising to my feet. That's what you did. I'm just ending it. Adil slammed his hand on the table. Fine, do whatever you want. We don't need you. He stormed out. Hira followed, crying. Sana stomped after him. Faraz stayed quiet, giving me a small nod before leaving. When the door closed, the lawyer sighed. It's done. He said, They understand now. I looked out the window, tears welling in my eyes. Not of sadness, but relief. For the first time in years, I had my life back. Leaving that house felt like walking out of a storm and finally seeing the sky again. I moved into a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, nothing loud, just peaceful. For the first time in years, I slept soundly. No raised voices, no doors slammed, no disrespect. Just silence, warm, healing silence. My mornings began with tea on the balcony, birds, a gentle breeze. A calm heart, I started rediscovering hobbies I had abandoned long ago. I joined a book club. I found a ladies' walking group in the park. I even started learning watercolor painting. Every stroke felt like wiping away another scar. Most importantly, I built new friendship. Women my age who understood loneliness, struggle, betrayal, and motherhood. We shared stories, we laughed, we cried, we healed together. Slowly, I realized something. Peace wasn't a luxury. It was a right. One evening while painting, my phone buzzed. A message from Faraz. Amy, please pick up my call. I need to talk to you. I hesitated. For weeks, none of them had reached out beyond a few guilt-filled texts. But something about his message felt different, honest, urgent. Before I could decide, the phone started ringing again. This time a video call from Hira. Her eyes were red. She looked devastated. "Amy," she whispered, voice trembling, "please, I'm sorry. Can you talk to me? I need you." Her apology sounded real. My heart softened for a moment. But before I could answer, I heard shouting in the background. The familiar voice of Adil. Hira flinched and ended the call abruptly. I froze. Something was happening. Something they hadn't told me. We agreed to meet at a small family restaurant. The same place where their father used to take us on weekends. I arrived early, sitting at a corner table with my hands wrapped around a warm cup of chai. Then the door opened. Faraz walked in first, shoulders slumped, guilt heavy on his face. Then Hira. Eyes swollen, avoiding my gaze. Finally Adil and Sana, tense, stiff, trying to look strong but clearly shaken. They sat down silently. No one spoke. Finally, Faraz exhaled shakily. "Amy, everything went wrong." I looked at him gently. "Tell me." He swallowed hard. "Adil lost his job 2 weeks ago. He didn't want to tell you because he feared you'd think he was irresponsible." Adil clenched his jaw but didn't deny it. Sana added softly, "And the lone people. They've been calling nonstop. We were drowning. We panicked. We thought if we secured our inheritance, we could fix everything, so it wasn't greed alone. It was fear, panic, bad decisions, weak marriage foundations, and misplaced expectations. Still, it didn't excuse their cruelty." Hira spoke next. Her voice broke. "Amy, when you left, the whole family found out what we did. They're angry at us. They said we disrespected the one person who loved us the most." Tears filled her eyes. Faraz quietly said, "We forgot who you were. We forgot all you sacrificed." Adil looked away, jaw trembling. "Amy, I didn't mean to threaten you. I was overwhelmed. I wasn't thinking." "And Sana?" I asked gently. She nodded, ashamed. "I shouldn't have forced anything. I'm so sorry." The apologies were real this time. Raw, unpolished, painful. For a moment, I felt something I thought I had lost. Motherhood, but forgiveness that wasn't so simple. "I am glad you came," I said slowly, "but you must understand something. Trust doesn't come back because you say sorry. It comes back when you change." They nodded, quietly crying. Faraz whispered, "Amy, can we try again as a family?" I took a deep breath. "I am willing," I said, "but only on one condition." They leaned forward. "You will not talk about inheritance, money, or property again. Not for years, not until I bring it up." They all agreed, but before the moment could settle, Adil looked at me with fear. "Amy, are you still going to give everything to charity?" I smiled softly. "That depends on all of you." I walked outside the restaurant after the meeting, the cool evening air touching my face. My children followed behind me, confused by the mysterious warning I had received. Someone wasn't being honest. We stood beneath a street lamp, the yellow light glowing faintly around us. "Before we go any further," I said calmly, "I want the truth, all of it." Adil looked defensive. Faraz looked guilty. Hira looked terrified. Sana looked away. Then, unexpectedly, Hira stepped forward. "Amy, it was me." She whispered. "I told the extended family everything, not because I wanted sympathy, but because I wanted someone to make Adil stop. He wouldn't listen to anyone." Adil spun toward her, shocked. "You betrayed us." "No," she said firmly. "I stopped you from destroying our mother." For the first time, Adil had no comeback. His shoulders sagged. His expression softened. His anger disappeared, and in that quiet moment, I understood. They were broken, all of them. Not evil, not unloving, just lost. I stepped closer, raising my voice so they would all hear me clearly. "Listen to me. Your father left you a legacy. But it wasn't a house or money or land. It was respect, unity, and love. And the day you threw those away, you lost the real inheritance." Their eyes lowered in shame. "I may still change my will," I continued. "I may give everything to charity, or I may choose to keep you in it. But remember this," I placed my hand on my chest. "If you don't respect the person who gave you everything, then you don't deserve anything at all." A silence wrapped around us. A deep, emotional silence. Then something unexpected happened. Adil stepped forward, tears finally escaping. "Amy," he whispered, voice trembling, "we don't want the house. We don't want money. We just want you back." Hira followed, hugging me tightly. Faraz held my hand. Sana wiped her tears, and for the first time in months, I felt my family again, not perfect, not healed completely, but trying, rebuilding. We walked together to the parking lot, slowly, quietly, like a new beginning. Before we parted, I gave them a final message. Remember this moment, because your true inheritance isn't in my bank. It's in how you treat the people who love you. They nodded softly. I drove home with a peaceful heart. Was everything fixed? No. But there was hope, and sometimes hope is enough.